Speaking of Manchester United, they are up next. I talked about this after the Manchester Derby on the weekend roundup. I'm all in. I'm all in on Erik Ten Hag. I don't really care that they drew against Crystal Palace earlier today. That was a really unfortunate way to concede an equalizer. Just excellent from Michael Olise. Sometimes it happens. This is why you can't be so bad in the first half of the season and expect to be in a title race. They had to do what they did just to actually get within striking distance of Arsenal and to catch Manchester City. Now you have to repeat that to keep pace with them for the second half of the season. It was possible that they could, or that Arsenal kind of fall back to the pack and Manchester City never get it going, which is why I still hold the belief that if you're going to consider Manchester City a title contender, and maybe I'm starting to, depending on how the weekend goes in that game against Arsenal, maybe that's the end of Manchester United as a title contender. But coming out of the Manchester Derby, if you were considering City, if you thought this race was still open and you weren't 100% convinced Arsenal were going to win, then Manchester United and Manchester City were both title contenders. Again, kind of like my Liverpool point, let's just, right? Step one is just getting back into the Champions League and stop doing all of the things that have made Manchester United a punching bag for the past 5 or so seasons. Things like consistently beating the teams you're supposed to in the middle and bottom of the table, which they've done this season outside of the beginning where it was kind of all, it looked like it was going to repeat itself again until they finally got everything sorted out. And not having these massive ups and downs that go from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's everything for Manchester United to Ole out, Ole back at the wheel, Ole out, all that stuff. How about just some consistency? That's what you've gotten this season. The other part of this is just look at the actual squad. Is it really shocking that they've been significantly better with Casemiro and Christian Eriksen playing as your holding midfielders as opposed to Fred and Scott McTominay? And that a center back combination of Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane are performing much better than whatever combinations were being thrown out there the past few seasons before they overhauled the center back position. This isn't that complicated. And then, of course, you got Marcus Rashford playing out of his mind. They're just better, and they have a better manager who knows how to get the best out of this team and who has actually gotten this team to believe in themselves again and has done the really hard part, the part I wasn't sure he could do, which is to change the culture. This is 100% sustainable. Now, are they in a position to challenge for a league title next season? Maybe not. It might take a couple years. But all of a sudden, this becomes a much more attractive destination and puts Manchester United back into the conversation for the players that, when you're floating around the Europa League, as prominent as Manchester United is, you're not going to be able to get, the very, 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 very best. This puts them back into that conversation. It puts them back where they belong in terms of some of the most powerful from a what they offer on the field standpoint. Of course, economically, of course, reputation-wise, they're as big as any club in the world. But they lost the gravitas on the field, and that is what is returning under Erik Ten Hag. The other thing I would like to say here, I know the Wout Weghorst signing is kind of getting laughed at, and everybody's talking about how he didn't perform well at Burnley. And that is true. It's also true Wout Weghorst scored a goal every 2 games he played in the Bundesliga. Go look at his numbers. They're quite good. Does that mean he's going to be a massive success in Manchester United? No. He also wasn't brought in to be a massive success. He's not the long-term solution at the position, and Marcus Rashford is going to get every opportunity. Now, of course, they could also play together, which is what you saw in the Crystal Palace game. I also liked what I saw from Weghorst in terms of him dropping deep and kind of initiating attacks for a Marcus Rashford who's comfortable coming in the middle, an Antony who likes to cut inside, a Bruno Fernandes who has no problem playing as kind of a false nine. I think this can work. And I also just don't think if you're relying on Wout Weghorst to carry your goal scoring load, that's a problem. But that's not what this is. I'm much higher on the signing than most people. And if nothing else, I just want to defend Wout Weghorst because the dude put up numbers in the Bundesliga. If you don't believe me, go look him up for yourself.